First question.
AC, with the lead that you had there, the steal in the backcourt and Dub finishing it off, what's that moment like for you? Kind of, I'm sure, recognizing like that's it. That's kind of the final slam of the door.
Yeah, it's always fun, when you get some highlights out of the stuff that ends up clinching games. Sometimes it's boring and you just play good defense, they miss shots and you get rebounds. But plays like that, obviously, it's more fun. It's a little more electric for the crowd too.
In games like tonight and last night where you guys need to kind of flip a switch at halftime, what's that self-reflection look like for you guys as a group in the locker room?
Yeah, just talking about getting to the point to where we're not having to flip a switch and we can be a little more consistent. Some of that is these other teams are playing well against us. They're throwing in some shots that they might not make, like a banked in three or a left-handed three at the half or quarter, but there's a lot of other stuff that's controllable for us that that kind of puts teams in rhythm. So just trying to limit those things, I think, and not get in positions to where it's like we need a big third quarter to regain the lead or take the lead.
What are your thoughts on just the way the Hawks play? Like, they get up a lot of threes, they play really fast.
It's pretty sporadic. It's a lot of open gym mentality kind of thing. I think especially with Trae Young being out tonight, I think they ran less sets. And at some point I heard Nikhil come down and yell chaos, and I don't know if that's an actual call for them or if he was just like bullshitting and like he's saying random stuff. But a lot of it was that tonight where it was just whoever had the ball was creating action, going to something, and then if they had a sliver of opening, they let it fly. So I think that's what a lot of teams, if they don't stack up man for man through the roster, which not many people do, that's kind of the look offensively that they go to is playing fast, trying to create as many transition looks and cross match and transition as they can.
Is it hard not to get like caught in that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times playing against teams like that, the best defense against it is playing fast against them, because they're usually a little, like you said, they're a little sporadic and then they're a little random. So for them, maybe floor balance and transition defense isn't great. But I think we had a good flow tonight of at times playing fast when we needed to, but then also playing slow and getting to sets when it was available.
You seem to really dominate just the details and the little things in the game. Is that something that's just always been a part of your game, like going back to being a kid, or is that something you sort of developed in the G and upwards in the NBA?
Yeah, I think I've gotten better at it throughout my career. I've spoken to this at least last year here and a few times over my NBA career, is just like learning from older guys, smarter guys than me when I was a young player, at how detailed you could be and how specific you could be with certain coverages, information known about players, coaching staff, stuff like that. And so for me, I've just always tried to build on that, and then it gives you a great advantage when you're trying to win, and ultimately I want to win. So it's something that I try to pay attention to.
You struggled from the three-point line on Christmas Day. Tonight you go 2 for 2, hit a big one late. We see you pregame, every game. Is there anything other than the ball just going in that feels differently, or is there anything technical that you see differently in when they're going in and when they're not?
Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit of rhythm, but you as an NBA player, you kind of have to create your own rhythm. Yeah, I think the Christmas game was frustrating for me because I live for like those 1 or 2 games a year where I get like 10 attempts, and I like to be prepared to make them, and I feel like I've put the work in to be shooting well, or at least better than I did that game. So just trying to be consistent with the work I put in. I think that my teammates were more surprised that I missed whatever the first whatever it was, and then ended up making more than the opposite. So I think just being true to the work. I didn't do anything different. I didn't go home and have a miserable Christmas other than we lost, and I was a little upset about that. But next day I went in, got my treatment, got to work. Same thing, shoot around. I went same routines. It's just trusting it. Like, there's so many games. You're gonna have games where you shoot bad, and then you're gonna have games where you shoot really well. Just trying to stay consistent through it.
You talked last year about Case and making that kind of a defensive impact, basically off of pure talent.
Mm-hmm.
How are you seeing him develop the nuances on the defensive end?
his instincts are starting to get really good off the ball. I think that was something where some of our best defenders, we all have specific traits that we're really great at. Excuse me. And I think my off the ball anticipation and reading of plays was probably the elite quality that I have, that I brought with our defensive group, and that's something I think he's trying to pick up on and become better at, because that's where you can get, especially with our team, when guys are heating up the ball, putting guys under duress, that's where you can get passes that are lazy or predictable stuff, like the one tonight where he basically pick-sixed it, where the guy just handed him the ball and he went down and dunked it. He's starting to recognize actions and just be really comfortable, I think, understanding the game of flow of the game and what's going to happen.
You mentioned a three-point shooting. What's your message to Lou when, obviously we've seen him shoot really well over the course of a whole season, hasn't fallen as much as he'd like this year? Or is it kind of just something that is unspoken? Just how do you kind of go about that when a guy's in a shooting slump like that?
I don't even know what he's at. I don't look too much into the percentages of it, just because, you can win a game in so many different ways in the regular season. Like, obviously in the postseason, you need to be able to make shots. So, we're always just building towards that. At least that's my mentality. I see him shooting before practice. I see him shooting after shoot around. He does the same routine. At that point, it's just you just find your rhythm. That's kind of the point of, playing so many games in the NBA is eventually you're going to catch a rhythm and you're going to shoot well. It's some years you start off shooting 60% from three in the first 2 months, and then you even out and you get to 37, 38, 40. Some years you start shooting, like last year I think I was at 18% through the first 2 months, ended up shooting 35 on the year. It's there's so many games and so many shots. You just kind of have to play the game and stay true to your work. The guys that do that, are the guys that end up with long careers, and Lou's going to have a long career, so I'm not too worried about it.
Anybody else? Thank you, Alex.